Hi, I'm Ian.
And I'm Jason.
And this is Ghosts and Bears, the only podcast where we bring you the actual ghost stories
With the actual history.
in the actual place. On this episode of Ghosts and Bears, we're going to learn about the ghosts of the mountains and the ghosts of the seas. Coming up on this episode, we crisscross across Vancouver to talk about two very interesting haunted places. So we have a couple places. Jay and I were in Vancouver a couple weeks ago, and we were there just really quickly, less than 24 hours. But we thought it would be kind of fun to do a couple of Vancouver stories, as we mostly do Victoria stories, and this one would be a little more exciting. So we've got two for you, one involving a mountain and one involving the sea, as I said. So the first one... is about the Grouse Grind, and if you're not from Vancouver or the Lower Mainland, that's going to have no meaning to you whatsoever. But it started out as a challenging footpath on Grouse Mountain, and it turned into one of the most popular places for fit and active people looking for a challenge that can be tackled in 90 minutes or so for the average hiker, and it's right in the city. It's like right there. If I tried to do it, I'd probably die. That would be the most likely scenario. It is straight up. So imagine hauling your carcass up the side of a mountain for 90 minutes straight. It's 2.9 kilometers long. And that doesn't sound very far. What's that, like in American, like 1 and a bit miles? But it's more that it's just relentless. It's a relentless journey up. They've nicknamed it Nature's Stairmaster, and the trail has been in use since 1982, but Grouse Mountain itself has been a long-standing, put up with human activity for a very long time. The first hikers arrived at the top of the mountain in 1892, and they named it after the birds that seemed to be the most popular up there, which of course were grouse. The first lodge was built by Scandinavians, avid hikers in the 1920s through that area. In the 1930s, a toll road went in, and soon there was a village made up of a group of cabins at the base of the mountain and a ski run also situated near the base. Now that, of course, is all part of the west shore or west side of Vancouver. The North Shore of Vancouver, and you can now take a road right up to the base. It's not a toll road, just a regular road, lined with homes all the way up there. The Capilano Suspension Bridge is along that route, all those types of things. The first chairlift was installed in 1949, and this kicked off growth for the top part of the mountain, with the current facilities showing up in the 1990s, so this is still pretty new. As for the Grouse Grind, it got a more formalized look in the early 1980s when Don McPherson and Phil Severy cleared a single-person footpath up the mountain. It made for a challenging trail, but hikers could save their knees by taking the gondola back down the mountain rather than descending on foot. And for a long time, if you hiked up to the top, you got a free ride back down, but I believe they don't do that anymore. So if you go up, you either pay to go back down or you're walking down. The trail grew more and more popular and was formalized in the 1990s, better marked and wide enough that people could safely pass each other going up or down in a safe and orderly way. Today, this humble little footpath, the average number of people per year doing the Grouse Grind is more than 100,000 people, which makes sense when you think it's literally connected to a city with a greater population of around 6 million people. But not everyone who started the trail has completed it. In fact, there have been at least 11 deaths on the trail just since 1999. For some, death came for those who were not fit enough to make the trip, bringing on heart attacks, which would be exactly what would happen to me. Others have died from misadventure, anything from slipping and falling to getting lost and dying of exposure or hypothermia. Getting caught up in a natural event like an avalanche is also been known to happen. In any case, a good many deaths on the grind have happened suddenly, and for this reason, the experience of the living who hike the grind sometimes seem to bump up against the stories of those who never made it home. And we are going to have that story, I believe Jason was the one who recorded that one when we sat at the base, I have to say, of Grouse Grind, and we talked about that. It's a pretty interesting place to be, and you definitely get a sense that you are very much in nature's territory when you were there. You were certainly not in the city. And it's kind of cool when you drive. So if you come off the ferry and it's nighttime, and this is what we did, you look out across the valley, and of course it's all lights, and then there's just nothing but darkness, and then it almost appears to be floating in midair. There's all these bright lights, and that is actually the ski hill up at the top. The Grouse Grind, of course, leads there. So it's pretty neat to see Grouse Mountain all lit up, and there's kind of nothing in between the top and the bottom. It's pretty cool. The other place we stopped by and recorded at, which was really cool for us, we went to Steveston. And Steveston used to be a little fishing village all on its own. Again, much like the Grouse Grind and Grouse Mountain, it's been swallowed up by the city. And it's now effectively just a suburb of Richmond, which is one of the humongous municipalities that makes up the Greater Vancouver Area. It is right on the ocean, on the Gulf of Georgia. And we went there when I was writing the book. We had this crazy marathon session of about taking like 35 pictures in 20 hours or something. It was nuts. And we literally drove all over the city and got all these pictures. And we got to the cannery quite late. And it was spooky. I'd heard stories, of course. I'd already written the chapter for it, but it was spooky, and we were a little woo. Jason took a really neat approach. He didn't so much take pictures of the building as he took pictures of the statues of the old workers that is in front of the building, and they came out so cool. So I'll make sure to post that in our Patreon, so you can see the picture he took for the book. It was pretty neat. And there'll be other pictures there too for our patrons. You can check out what the inside looks, because we didn't just go in and like I did when I wrote the book and just sort of poked around the gift shop. We actually went in and we took the full tour, and we spent about an hour in the cannery. You can do that now thanks to Parks Canada. It's run by a nonprofit organization, but it is overseen by the federal government. You don't often hear of fish canneries being haunted, but then again, you don't often have a cannery that's been around as long as this one. The Gulf of Georgia Cannery in Steveston, as I said, a part of Richmond, is a National Historic Site, and with good reason. At one point in British Columbia history, canned salmon was among our largest and most lucrative exports. It became an official food of World War II. I'm not sure that's something you want to aspire to, but in terms of meat, it was one of the easiest and quickest proteins, and that made a huge impact on Canada's diet, really. There weren't the people to farm pigs and chickens and cows, but the fishermen were still out there getting the salmon, and you could effectively feed a lot of people with a lot less people being involved. In 1894, the cannery was constructed as a single production row for canning the fish that the Musqueam people had relied upon for generations. This was very lucrative, but laborious and intensive operation, so every year the area would fill with migrant workers. By the 1930s, technology caught up with the canning industry, and fast and efficient modern machines took over many of the jobs previously held by actual people. At this time, the major fish packing companies merged and became one larger conglomerate, leaving the Gulf of Georgia Cannery to quietly fall into retirement. But the Second World War quickly changed that. Herring was the new fish to find its way into the cannery's efficient system, and now there were countless employees making case after case of herring packed in tomato sauce. Because, unlike the salmon, the herring was heading overseas and it was getting sent to the soldiers. It was the perfect food, cheap and full of good, healthy fats. Best of all, if the fish was a tiny bit past its prime, the tomato sauce covered that up. I had a friend who worked in a cannery out in New Brunswick. I will not name it. I will not name him, but he knows who he is. I'm sure he is probably listening to this. And he told me once, he goes, if you're ever going to eat the sardines or the herring, don't eat the stuff in the sauces, because those are the ones that are absolutely past their best. They do one in like a mustard sauce and one in a tomato sauce, and he was just giving me fair warning. I actually do like sardines, and I will eat the smoked ones in the can. I find them super delicious, really easy snack, and crazy healthy for you. But I do not ever get the ones in the sauce. People wanted to indulge after the war in post-war modern luxuries, and no one wanted to be reminded of shortages that had been brought on by the war. So sardines and herring fell out of favor. The cannery switched gears once again. The demand for herring reduction saved the plant. Essentially, this was the reduction of the fish into a powder to be used as a fertilizer and food for animals, and herring oil, which was very popular for its high levels of omega-3 and the generally positive health benefits it offered. It's interesting because fish oil was like a staple for kids in the 1950s and early 60s. It was like, oh, I got to take your fish oil. And then it just kind of disappeared. And now, what's back? What do you find at Costco? Like 9 different kinds of omega-3 fish oil. During this time, the cannery went through 3 expansions to accommodate the level of processing required to keep up with the massive amount of fish coming through its doors. However, as we humans are wont to do, we showed zero self-control, and the herring industry collapsed due to massive overfishing. Yeah, we're good, aren't we? Let's find something good and then exploit the crap out of it. Workers pulled them out of the water faster than they could breed, and by the 1960s, everything had slowed down again as the river became a trickle of fish that were still being processed. Eventually, there was just enough for food, but there was not enough to keep the cannery open. And in 1979, the very last product left the cannery. For the next few years, the building was used as storage until it was transferred over to Parks Canada. And in 1994, it became open to the public. Today, it's run by a non-profit organization, but is overseen, as I mentioned, by the federal government, so it is a national park. All of these changes, regardless of ownership, use, or even the passage of time, do not seem to hamper the presence of residual energy that is still in the life of the Gulf of Georgia Cannery today, and we're going to hear that story as well. I hope you enjoyed the stories. We had a lot of fun going to these places and recording them for you. And I think, I just thought it was so cool that one story we're doing is the mountains and the other story we're doing is right at the sea. So that seemed to be an appropriate way to title this episode. So coming up, we are going to hear the ghost stories of the Gulf of Georgia Cannery and the Grouse Grind right after this.
More than one person has reported the feeling of someone following them up the trail, but even with repeated checking, they find that they are not entirely alone. They often write this off as perhaps an animal watching them, or they speculate that maybe they're just faster than whoever may be back there, and when they reach the top, no one even remotely close emerges from the trail. Similarly, people report being sure they heard someone ahead of them, the footfalls making a distinctive sound as they hit the stairs built into the mountain, but they can't see anyone there. It seems that whether you are going up or down, and whether you're ahead or behind, the trail is never truly empty. The residents of the Grouse Mountain area shared their experience with me. Living in such close proximity to the mountain, the 2 women would often hike the trail up together in the summer. On one such trip, they looked up the mountain and clearly saw a man a few meters ahead of them who had not been there when they started out. He hiked a short way and then seemed to blink out of existence, like a light bulb turning off. Both women described him the same way, older, with short graying hair, wearing a white shirt, black shorts, and running shoes. Sean, a young man who lives in Vancouver, has hiked the grind only a few times, but he had a bit more of a disconcerting experience. He was coming down the mountain just as it was getting close to dark. He was a student at the time and was unwilling to pay the ticket price to get back down the mountain on the gondola. So he would hike up, grab some water at the washrooms up top, and then hike back down. On this particular hike, he'd spent a little too much time at the top of the mountain. It was an exceptionally clear day, and he could see farther than usual as a result. He lingered longer than he should have, realizing the time. He was concerned about getting back down the mountain in daylight hours, so he was in a bit of a rush as he headed down the trail he'd emerged from the same day. Sean says he was about a quarter of the way down the now abandoned trail when he heard a man's voice call, "Help!" Sean stopped, unsure of what he'd heard, and listened harder. Again he heard the voice call, "Help!" Sean called back, "Where are you? What do you need?" There was no response. "Hello?" Sean called again. Still nothing. He figured he must have misheard and began to go down the trail again, and that's when he heard it again. He left the trail to go toward the voice, hoping he could find it. "Hello?" he called. "What's wrong? Where are you?" Again, no response. Just as Sean had reached the spot where he thought he'd heard the call from, it came again, but this time just as far away into the bush as it had been the first time. The voice sounded exactly the same and exactly the same distance away as when Sean had been on the path. It was at that point that Sean felt like he was being lured off the path, and with the light waning, he assumed it couldn't be for a good reason. He couldn't explain why he felt that way, other than it felt very, very wrong, and he was in danger. So Sean headed back to the path and decided he would report the incident when he got to the base of the trail. He made it off the mountain and got back to his car where he'd left his phone. He'd wanted to unplug and carry as little as possible on his climb. And when he called in the experience, there had been no reports of anyone missing yet. And so far, that week, anyone who'd gone up the mountain had come back down, but they had Sean describe where he'd been in case a search was required. Sean has hiked the Grouse Grind many times since, but has never heard that sort of thing happen again. In 2013, Outside Magazine listed the Grouse Grind as one of the world's top 10 most dangerous hikes. Many people are surprised to hear this, but that may be because as West Coast residents, we grow complacent about the power of nature and forget that it is to be respected, taken seriously, and even feared when appropriate. We tame pieces of the mountains for our entertainment or exercise, forgetting the real danger that we could be in when we set up off the side of the mountain to reach the top. The Grouse Grind proves that even a monitored, maintained, popular, and heavily traveled trail can still exact a price. I encourage you to remember those who were lost on this trail as you might hike up the mountain. Always show respect for the side of nature we think we have declawed. Unlike a river or lake, the dangers of a mountain might not be immediately apparent, but it doesn't make them or the people they have claimed any less real.
All right, here we are. It's Ian.
Yeah, and Jason.
We have been in Vancouver just overnight.
Yeah, a quick trip here.
We wanted to do some stories for you. One of them we're going to do, we actually came out here to Steveston.
Mm-hmm.
We're right by the cannery here, the Gulf of Georgia Cannery.
Yes.
Right on the ocean. It's sort of the old part left of Richmond, I guess, in Vancouver.
Yeah, it's a Canada park, too.
It's a Canadian National
National
Park now,
Park.
yeah. So we walked through it. You will have heard all the history of it.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's a neat place, and it was fun to walk through and do the museum part and all those good things. So we're going to tell you the ghost stories involved in the Georgia Cannery. And these were taken from my book, Vancouver's Most Haunted.
Yes.
Jason did the pictures here. We're actually sitting right beside the place where you did the pictures, right?
That's right, yeah.
And they were different. They were not of so much the building. They were more the creepy statues in the dark.
Yeah, that's right. We're
'Cause
sitting beside those statues.
We are. And when we were doing the pictures, we did, what was it, like 25 different sites in 24 hours? Like, it was fast.
Yeah, it was honestly about 12 hours. We drove about 200 miles around this town.
So by the time we got here, it was pretty late at night. It was dark. It was lonely.
That's right.
It was appropriately creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So The cannery is quite large, quite a large structure, and of course it had to be for what it was doing. And as I said, we've already told you the history, so we're just going to jump into the stories.
That's right.
The cannery staff have actually commented on noises they hear coming from all around the museum when they know no one else is there. Many times they hear murmuring as if someone is having a low, private conversation, and they can't quite make out what's being said. One staff member recalls hearing a very raucous woman's laugh ring out while she was there on her own, and the doors were all locked, and so she left early that day. I could see that because the type of people who were working here were pretty rough and ready people. They were here because maybe they couldn't get jobs in other places, or they traveled around a lot, or whatever. So you had some pretty, party hard kind of people who worked here, so a loud raucous laugh does actually make sense. Visitors have mentioned feeling like there's more than just the living in the building. I certainly have felt that here. You definitely feel like you're almost in a busy place. Would you agree with that?
Yes, yeah, definitely. And a lot of fish processing.
Yeah, a lot of fish processing. It's a bit like the Port Alice Mill, where you had that feeling that even though it's all shut down and it's long in the past, I mean, it was used until 1979, it still feels like there's people who want to try and do their jobs.
Yeah, that's right.
Visitors have mentioned feeling like there's more than just the living in the building. Staff are quick to reassure them that while they may feel other entities, there's never been anyone who has been harmed or posed any threat to anyone. I would agree with that. It didn't feel like a bad place.
No, it felt energetic.
Yeah, but not bad, right?
Yeah. Dispatching lots of fish.
Maybe it's all the fish ghosts.
Maybe.
Many paranormal investigation groups find the cannery to be consistently active, and a number of groups have done more than one investigation here. They've never been disappointed. I talked to Glenn Ferguson from the Canadian Paranormal Society, and he spent most of his investigation at the boathouse, which is connected to the cannery. But one investigator was shocked by seeing a full-body apparition in the theater area, as he'd never seen one before. And another investigator heard voices coming through the spirit box, a piece of equipment that runs through all the bands of AM and FM radio and allows the spirits to pick out words with which to communicate or answer questions. Still, another investigator was getting a lot of EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, in real time. Most often, ghosts have voices that we can't hear with our ears alone, but they can sometimes be captured using a digital voice recorder. In this instance, the investigators would ask a question, hold up the voice of the recorder for a few seconds, and then switch it off, and then they would rewind it and play it back to hear if there was a response. They got immediate and intelligent responses to their questions.
Another group performed an all-night investigation involving various technology and cameras. It was their lucky night. Before they could even get the cameras set up, a full-bodied apparition, a man in overalls, an old hat, and boots appeared so closely and clearly to the group that they decided to call it a night before the night had properly begun.
I guess they
see
figured
that.
It's either not going to get any better than that, or whatever's here really doesn't want us here.
Yeah. So if you get out to Steveston, do check out the cannery, like we just did. If you're looking to feel something paranormal, you won't be disappointed. I think it's a lot of fish.
A lot of fish ghosts.
Yeah, fishy ghosts. And if you're looking to see something paranormal, well, you might just get your wish granted.
It was a pretty cool place. I mean, there's a ton of history here. This was kind of the lifeblood for the area. This is why Steveston is here. And I think there's a lot of people still tied to it.
Yeah, 100%. I think the one stat that was interesting is out of 3,500 eggs, only 10 salmon managed to come back to this area. 8 of those were caught, and that allowed 2 out of the 3,500 to spawn.
It's pretty insane, isn't it?
Yeah, and they were doing, at this particular one, so I saw about 2 pounds of canned salmon a second.
That's insane.
It's pretty cool. But it was interesting. I think it felt busy in there.
Yeah.
Just busy and bustling.
Spiritually.
The Japanese have a word for that, nigiyaka. It's kind of like a busy, bustling atmosphere, noisy. Yeah. That was what I felt in there. But it's pretty cool. You definitely got to smell fishy scent.
Well, and now I'm kind of craving fish and chips.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we should go find some.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Take care. Bye. So, as I had mentioned on the history part, we actually went into the cannery,
That's right.
which was amazing and
Yeah, it
very
was tons
cool.
of fun.
I actually learned a lot
Yeah, me too.
because I did not know. And you told me your mom, who is First Nations and grew up north, she actually worked in a salmon canning plant.
Yes. I don't know if it was
cool.
salmon. It might have been tuna, but yes,
Okay,
definitely
okay, yeah.
in a cannery. It was very likely salmon because
Yeah.
the salmon are pretty busy in that run.
They're pretty popular around here.
Yes, yeah. So to put it into context for our listeners, it's between Prince Rupert and Terrace, British Columbia. So you have the Skeena River there, and there's a huge amount of salmon in that in the summer. And I think, we learned a lot. We watched some of the demos and the videos, but if I remember right, they were packing 2 pounds of fish a second.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the other part that struck me, which must have been really hard on them, was the fact that it must have been like every season they came back to pack salmon, another machine was taking more jobs.
Yes.
Like kind of from the 1930s on, it was like every time they came back, oh, no, you don't do that anymore. We have a machine that does that.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other part that stuck out to me that I remember, they had very experienced ladies. It was usually ladies, very experienced ladies who were, what did they call them? Trimmers or stuffers or something?
No, they were, well...
Because they had a
I don't
machine
know.
that would weigh the cans, and if the can wasn't
those,
exactly
yes.
an amount,
Correct.
it would get buffed off to another line.
That's right.
And those ladies were in charge of either stuffing the holes with extra fish or pulling out the extra if it was
Correct,
too-
yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, it was within 1/10 of an ounce or something.
Yeah, it was pretty
They were
nuts.
hyper accurate.
Yeah. Makes me reevaluate canned salmon because it always kind of freaked me out because the bones are in it.
Oh yeah, and that's right. They are, and
But they crush
think,
down to nothing,
correct.
but you have to crush them.
But
Ugh.
the interesting thing was the cooking part happened at the end.
In the can.
That's interesting.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Who knew?
That's
The other
why
thing-
the bones are so soft and edible.
That's right. And the other thing I really liked was the all the different labels and the different names
Oh yeah.
of this. Those are awesome. So we actually had a really good time doing that. Grouse Mountain, we recorded the story at Grouse Mountain, and then the file got corrupted on the recorder. So we just had Jason read it.
Yes,
Right
that's
here.
right. Yeah.
Both of those stories are out of my new book
That's right.
that I did the writing for and Jason did the pictures for. Vancouver's Most Haunted, available everywhere exciting books are sold, just for you.
Actually, we ran into your books at the Tsawwassen Ferry Terminal,
Oh,
which
that
was
was
neat.
so funny. We
And
go in there,
there were
and Jason
fans
says
there.
to the guy, Jason says to the store guy, hey, he wrote that book. Do you want him to sign some of them?
I said he wrote that book, and he said, "Does he mind signing them?"
Oh,
and I
right,
said,
right,
"Oh,
right.
yeah, I'll get him."
He had both books.
You were elsewhere in the little key, but
Yeah.
yes, yeah, he had both books. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, he was pretty excited.
And a fellow writer in between.
Yeah. And then just when I think that little excitement is all over, some guys in the store and you're like, hey, see that? He wrote that book.
Yes, yeah, and the daughter just loved it.
And he bought it.
Yeah, he did.
Maybe I need you as just my full-time promo kind of person. Just
I guess.
hanging out in bookstores.
I seem to
pushing
make
the book.
friends with everyone and out of thin air. It's kind of neat. Yeah.
It is neat. It's very cool, and it was a lot of fun to do.
Oh, and you can probably hear pretty much COVID's out of our system. We only have some long COVID symptoms. I think once in a while we'll get headachy and just tired, but
Yeah.
you can definitely tell that we're bounced back.
Oh, the energy's back.
Yeah.
The voice is, yeah, definitely. I still sometimes cough, a little bit of a cough, but on the whole.
yeah, the
it's
cough is
definitely
once in a
better.
while. It's just kind of annoying. It's more like you're just like, oh, go away.
I know.
For me, it's the headaches more. For Ian, it's the cough.
Yeah, for sure. But no, we're definitely bouncing back. The other thing we were going to talk about was we have launched our Patreon, as you know, and this past week we put out our first patron-only bonus episode.
That's right. That
The
was fun.
Ghost stories we have heard. Mm-hmm. I call it GS. Hold on. WHH. I had to think about that.
Okay.
But it's out. So if you're looking for that, head on over to Patreon. The episode 2 of that will be out after this. And yeah, it's a lot of fun to do. We're also we're recording this on a Sunday, and we're actually gonna have our live what we call the Modern Seance. Because I don't know if you've ever been on a Zoom call or something like that, but it's always like, can you hear us? Are you there? We can see you, but we can't hear you.
That's right.
That's why I call it a Modern Seance. So we're going to have that with our patrons at one of the levels. I don't remember. We're going to talk about that. But that is also something that is a benefit, and we've worked really hard on that. Also, next month, the first patrons are going to be getting their merch.
Yeah, that's right.
If you signed up in December, February is your third month, and I think the stickers, t-shirts, and mugs come out. So
yeah, it should be interesting.
that's fun.
In and out.
In and out. So speaking of Patreon, I'm just going to talk about the different levels. We have Bear Admirer, and that's $5 a month. Basically, you're going to get behind the scenes pics, early access to episodes whenever possible, private community. We have a Discord server, which I'm still learning about, thanks to our youngest and smartest person helping us out, Brianna, because she's actually hip and cool, and I'm not. You're going to get that sticker we talked about after 3 months of membership. Bonus episodes you are going to get to hear. I know, you're so lucky. You're so happy. Ghost stories I have heard. And a patron shout out, which we're going to do at the end of this. The next one we have, $10 a month. That one is called Pet the Bears. Just to clarify, there is no touching of us.
No,
I just need to be really, really clear about that. And if there was, it would be a lot more than $10. I'm not that cheap.
Yeah, it's weird.
So you're gonna get all the same things that the first tier is gonna get. You're also gonna get that sticker, but you're also gonna get a mug. And your fan requests and ghost stories coming in for that bonus show are going to get bumped to the front of the line. So that's in there, as well as everything we talked about in that first one. The next level is $10 a month, $15 a month, and it's called Ghost Bear Acolyte of the Sacred Cave.
That's quite the name.
Thank you. I brainstormed these.
Sacred Cave.
You're going to get everything cool along with the sticker and the mug, but you're also going to get a t-shirt. Oh, yeah, with our kick-ass logo on it. This level also entitles you to join us for our monthly Modern Seance. You're going to get your patron shout-out and all the other fun stuff as well. So that's really fun. Also, you may be hit up for your opinion on different things with the show. So that's something we're throwing in there as well.
We definitely like the feedback. We're grateful.
We do. And then for $20 a month, the Bear Appreciation Society. If you go on our Patreon page, you can see the gratuitous man candy that I put on there for that one. You're going to get everything we talked about: the mug, the t-shirt, the sticker, the bonus shows, all those sorts of things. Also, you're going to get a phone call with us. And we will be happy to chat with you and talk about whatever you want, as well as the monthly Modern Seance, and of course, naturally, that magical patron shout out. And then the top level, the elite,
the Grand Bear.
The Grand Bear Worship level.
That's not fun.
It is. Woo, hardcore. After 3 months of this level, so you're going to get everything we talked about in the other levels, but you're also going to get a signed copy of my first book. Which is cool. You'll just have to remind me, because unlike everything else, Patreon handles it for us. That one, you're going to have to remind me, because I'm not very smart and I will forget. So you're just going to go, hey, I think it's time for my book.
I'd be happy to help. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll get that sent out to you. So that's our very, very top ultimate supremo level. But yeah, those are the different levels we've got. And we're also just, putting out posts, usually a couple times a week. I'm throwing posts out there. We got some polls, things like that. So you can check all that kind of stuff out. And then we also, of course, need to say thank you to our lovely patrons. Now, you started first last time, so I think I need to start this time.
Go ahead, yeah.
Are we ready?
Yes, please do.
We want to thank our existing patrons, because seriously, without you, we couldn't do this.
We're super grateful. Honestly. We can't say how grateful we are. I mean, it allows us to get out there. We're looking forward to some more travel. We're hopeful that the Coquihalla is up and running so that we can make it over at some point to
That's the major
Oliver.
road. That's the major road between basically Vancouver and the rest of Canada.
Pretty much, yeah. The rest of Canada. Yeah. We're looking forward to getting out there and filming on location and recording on location in Oliver. We're still wanting to get to that winery.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to that. It's exciting. Hopefully that can happen soon. And yeah, we love travel.
We do. So
we'll be there.
To say thank you to the people who are making that happen, we want to thank Ruth,
Rebecca,
Mary Frances,
Cassie,
Gina and Victoria,
Sandy,
Christopher,
David,
Ashley,
Jeremiah,
Mamere,
Elizabeth,
Jules,
Sam,
BB Nix,
Melinda,
Jordan,
Tammy,
James,
Taya,
Eben,
Arwen,
Steve,
Kyle,
Catherine,
Myri.
and Christy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
and
you guys.
stay safe.
And stay safe. Don't get the vid.
Ugh. I can't wish that upon anyone.
It's really not that fun.
Kind of drains your energy a lot.
Yeah. And I'm sure people have glamorized it and been like, oh, we're the cool kid. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's not that fun.
We want to say thank you to everybody. And we are looking forward to doing some more stuff. I know that Chris and Alex are getting all geared up to do another video for us for the next location. So look for that coming up because those are amazing.
We should have them on the show.
We should, but then we need more mics.
We have to.
Oh, right. We've got the head mics.
Yes.
The Madonna mics.
We can, the Madonna mics. Yeah, no, I bought all that. We can do it on the H8.
That's true.
Yeah.
And we can maybe talk to them about their ghost experiences.
Yes.
That would be cool.
That was like when we went up to Terrace and we had the guys there.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
We got those for that very thing.
All right. Well, let's ask them and see if they'll do it.
Oh,
they may not want to be in a room with us. That's the other thing.
Maybe. Well, they did when they recorded the Christmas episode.
Yeah, they kept their space.
Yeah, they did. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
And gals.
Yeah.
And
Thank you, everybody.
Theirs, them.
Oh, yeah. We're learning
They,
all that,
them.
aren't we? Yeah, because we're old.
He, she, me. I don't know. There's so many pronouns now.
Hey, it's a good thing. Be who you want to be.
Exactly.
All right, friends. Thank you for sticking with us for this episode, and we look forward to hearing from you again. Any questions or concerns or complaints or compliments, or you just want to reach out and say hi, you can send us an email, ghostsandbears@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram. We also have a page on Facebook. And remember, we would love to have your ghost stories as well, because we would love to be putting more of your stories in the ghost stories I have heard. So send those on in. I already got one. I think I talked about it on the first ghost stories I have heard from the mainland. And she said I can use her story. I got permission. So that'll be coming up in the next one.
And you signed the book.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah. Last week I signed the contract with my lovely publisher, Touchwood Editions, to do Calgary's Most Haunted.
Calgary's Most Haunted.
So we're looking forward to...
so we'll have to make it over to Calgary so I can get the photos and all that jazz.
I'm thinking the summer. It should be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're working with some people there. Melissa and Chris and Vicky and Karen and people like that are helping us out there. So really grateful for that, because I won't be able to be on the ground as much as I'd like to be. So when we go in August, we will be visiting every spot we're talking about in the book. So it's going to be a busy couple of weeks.
And then we'll probably be looking at Kootenay's Most Haunted or something down the road.
I don't know. We're going to have to see what pops up. Yeah.
What was that ghost town? Sandin.
Sandin.
That's
right.
Right.
And remember the town above Greenwood, Phoenix?
Yes, Phoenix.
That was cool. The only thing left up there is a World War I marker and a graveyard.
That's right.
Everything else is gone. It's the weirdest thing.
It was peaceful up there.
It was.
It was quite the mine.
Yeah. No, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So we're definitely on site.
Yeah.
All the
we're
time.
on site, always looking. So thanks for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful day, week, walk home,
bi-weekly,
drive to work, security guard shift. I don't know. However you're listening to this is really going to be, I hope it's good for you, and I hope you stay safe. And remember, no matter what, you're wandering around, you're thinking, I wonder what's the best podcast. That would be us.
Well, we hope.
And we are the only podcast that gives you the actual ghost story.
With the actual history.
In the actual place. And hopefully one day soon,
that place will be with you.
Take care, guys.
Stay safe. Bye.